Alright guys, so we're back in Blender here, and I just want to review controls. Scroll wheel in and out, zooms in and out. If you hold shift and do the scroll wheel, and you push the scroll wheel in and move, it pans, okay? And pushing in the scroll wheel by itself without holding shift will rotate. On your number pad, if you hit 1, that's how it goes to the front view. 3 is the side view. That's all I need to know for that. Tab mode, if you hit tab, up here, that'll be object mode where you can't really edit your thing. If you hit tab on your keyboard again, that brings you back into the edit mode. Once you're in edit mode, 1 is going to be the vertex or the dots you can select. 2 is going to be where it selects edges. 3 is going to be where it selects full faces, okay? Up here, you have the wireframe mode. This is the solid mode, and you got some other stuff. You don't need to worry about the other things, but just know that the globe is the wireframe mode. This is the solid mode. So if you remember last time, we were creating those loop cuts and using G to move things. So if you remember, I'm on vertex selector now. If I click and drag around a single dot and I hit G, I can move that. Okay, so remember that. So I'm highlighting, hitting G, and outlining a body. You're going to do everything but the head and the limbs. We're just practicing the bodies. So that's how you kind of do that. Once you have the outline done, we're going to do the following. So once you have the outline all nice and neat towards the body like you want, we're going to turn it back to the shading mode. Okay? So once we're in the shading mode, we can kind of look here, okay? I'm going to go ahead and rotate around the object. Now, my object happens to be closed all the way, okay? So I'm going to give you an example of what happens, what yours might look like, okay? So yours might look like this. You might have stuff missing over here. Okay, like that. All right, to fix this, okay, or you might even have stuff that looks like this, where you don't even have another thing. Let me get rid of the picture. Hold on, I'm gonna delete my picture so you can see this better. So you might have something that kind of looks like this. Maybe you're missing a full edge here. Maybe this entire thing is not even, maybe it's all flat. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean this model up. So you can see here a bunch of stuff is messed up. Okay. Now this is best done using the edge mode, in my opinion. You can use the dots as well, but the edge mode for me works the best. So for instance, I don't want holes in my character, so I'm gonna close the shape here. So I'm in the edge select mode. I hit 2 on my keyboard. So if I want to close this hole here, so I select all the edges. So I hold shift and I click all the edges, and then I just hit F on my keyboard, and look at that, it closed it for us. So again, shift on my keyboard, F. I'm holding shift and I'm clicking all the edges that I want to close. F. Again, hold shift, click on all edges, click on the hole you want to fill, F. Okay? Now, let me show you what you can't do. You got to take it small chunks at a time. For like this one, the more complex one on the front here, I see that like a lot of this isn't closed, so I can't do the following. Watch what happens if I try to do the entire thing at once, or most of it rather. I hit F, and it goes like across. You need to take it chunk by chunk, so I might do this right here. Close this first. Highlight like these edges. You gotta be careful you don't accidentally highlight edges that aren't in the project. F. And sometimes you might have to go here and do a second one. Sometimes it gets a little tricky, and that's okay. Alright. So notice I'm taking it piece by piece here. And I think you guys generally get the idea. Again, for the side one, I would just do this. F. And again, I have some issues there, so that's... I accidentally selected edges behind, I think. So I'm just going to select these. If you make a mistake, Control-Z is your best friend. F. There we go. A lot better. Okay. Sometimes what you can do as well, if your object is one big flat thing, use 3, which is the face select, and I'm going to select all these. And this doesn't always work, so let's see if it actually works. That probably is not going to work, actually, but let's see. Sometimes... if I just hit E, I can pull this all up as well. So if I go like that, I can also do that, okay? Now next, and again, I would fill in all this if I, you know, was gonna make it. So now, I'm gonna do one last thing. Now this is obviously not the how a person looks, right? So first, I'm gonna use 1, and I'm gonna use the face select. I'm gonna select all this, and I'm gonna pull it back using E. And sometimes this will work, sometimes this will not. And that didn't seem to work for me. So I'm going to hit E and then S and hit Y. And you can kind of scale this skinnier, okay? So do that instead, S, and then hit Y so it only scales it back in the direction that you need. You might need to hit like X instead. Maybe that's your X. But for me, it's if I hit Y, it'll make it skinnier, okay? Now that looks more person-like, but still, I want to make it look even more round. And maybe that's even too thick, we'll see. So maybe the arms are definitely too thick. So what I can do there is just, again, I can use 1, and I can select like only those faces if I want. And if I hit S, Y, I can scale them in maybe a little, or I'm going to leave it for now and just wing it. But what I can do is, now I want roundness to this person on the side of this person, so I can just select edges. So I'm going to use 2 for the edge select, and I'm just going to do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit G and kind of, or I'm going to use face select. It depends on what you're really doing here. You're right. Let's use edge select. I'm going to hit G. I'm going to kind of move it out just a teeny bit. G. And the other one as well. G. Okay, so I'm starting to do that. And again, I can also do this here. G. I'm going to select these edges. And then you have to look at it quite differently a lot. I'm going to use G. I'm going to kind of move them in more. So you can see how I'm creating roundness here. G. Okay. If I were to hit tab, you're going to see that becoming more round, not perfect. Okay. Another trick is hold shift. And you can do Control B for bevel, and then you kind of can drag and put little edges on there. If you hit tab, that makes it look even more round. So eventually I would have, you know, a nice round. And we're doing like a low poly art style, so Control B does that. Got to drag them out just a little. And eventually you start to form a person. So you would do this around each part of the body, you know, for the chest. I might want to use the edge select and use G and pull out the chest a little bit, because we know that chests are not flat. They're a little bit pulled out. And again, this is dependent on your art, and that looks, we would need to obviously pull out this on top and, you know, contour the sides here, you know, as such, eventually. But eventually you would be able to use this to make a full character. And again, you know, I might want to pull out the legs like this. So again, this is the artistic part here. So G, maybe I pull out the legs a little, maybe do a Control B for bevel on the sides there. But if you have the general idea of this, we can start to kind of really make our person more person-like, okay? So those steps, and you should be on your way to be making a person.